Are you a fan if It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? I expect that there is a very good chance that you are, because this is an exceptionally popular TV show. There are, to date, 14 seasons. It's still on. It's been on since 2005. Very successful, very well loved. Why can I not make up my mind with how I feel about this? I've watched the first kind of 5 or 6 episodes, and I'm still just unsure of how I feel. But I thought today I would just look at the first episode to try and work out why I continued to watch it, even though there wasn't anything in the first episode that I found to be particularly interesting. Something I liked with this, and I wondered if they were trying to do a Cheers vibe, is that it's set in a pub, an Irish themed pub, Paddy's Pub, and this pub is located in South Philadelphia, and it all focuses on what you can refer to as the gang, the friends, Dennis and Deandra, and Charlie and Mac. And I have to say, as characters, I quite like Dennis. I warmed to Dennis really quickly. He's played by Glenn Howerton, or Howerton. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And I kind of like that character. With regards to Dee being the only lead female, it didn't really bother me, but I did think it was a bit odd. And not in a kind of the female representation here isn't enough, because we do get a lot of female characters. Not so much in this first episode, but at least in the ones that I've seen afterwards, there seems to be a decent amount of female characters. Although, granted, most of them are seen as objects of male affection rather than women in their own rights. But it was 2005, different attitudes back then. But the fact that we only have one female protagonist didn't really bother me too much. And I kind of liked Dee. I don't love her. I didn't take to her too quickly. But certainly in the first episode, I saw her and thought, you're not annoying me. And that's something I can work with. Whereas Charlie and Mac, I didn't take to either of those in this first episode. I feel like the first episode we don't really get a chance to get to know them, which is sometimes the case with a sitcom. Some sitcoms, the first episode will be all about getting to know the characters, and with some sitcoms, it's more about getting to know the place, the area, the location. It just depends on what that sitcom's trying to focus on and what they're trying to do. With this one, I feel like it's definitely trying to introduce us to the setup, the place, the relationships between the characters, rather than the personalities of each individual. And maybe that's why I stuck with it, because I didn't really know enough about the characters to work out whether or not I'd be able to engage with them or, feel any kind of emotion towards them. It also doesn't give away too much, and I think that's why I progressed to episode 2. But with regards to what actually happens in the first episode, it's not that interesting. Really, not that much happens. There's no real meat in it. However, it is also very shocking at the same time. I still can't believe they did that. They dropped the N-word about 3 times in the first 5 minutes of this very first episode. And I have to say, as an introduction to the kind of comedy you're going to get, you cannot get more blatant than that. It's very dark humour, and that's not something that bothers me at all, but that is certainly something you should bear in mind if you are thinking of watching this. It's not for anybody who gets offended really quickly. It's not racist, by the way. They're not being racist blatantly. It's one of those things where they say things that are taken out of context or overheard, or their black friend says it so they think they can say it, and they try to prove people that they're not racist, and they go out of their way, but by doing that they end up coming across as racist. It's a very, very powerful topic for a first episode. And I will be honest, if this aired today, given, Black Lives Matter and how much this is a prominent topic in media, I don't think they would do this today. As a first episode to launch a series, I don't think they'd risk it. But as an introduction, it kept me hooked, and I think it was the shock factor. Now that I've spoken through it and kind of looked over my experience of the first episode, I wasn't in love with the cast, the characters. I didn't know that much about them. I did know to expect the unexpected from this show. So definitely the first episode is pretty powerful, shocking, sets you up for what you can expect, and as a big Cheers fan, I kind of liked the idea that it was set primarily in a bar. And I won't talk about the episodes that I've seen afterwards in any detail, but I will say that it does not feel like Cheers. I mean, Cheers on acid, maybe, but it doesn't have the same vibe at all. The characters, I don't like most of them. I can't. Dennis, I do still like. Danny DeVito, I love. He's not in it until the second season, so I've not seen his character yet. But at the same time, maybe that's something that's worth sticking around for. I don't know. I don't know if I should continue watching this, because I got to like the 5th episode, I kind of binge watched it all in one sitting, and then I haven't gone back to it. I've moved on to a different show. Is it worth sticking with? Should I go back to it? This first episode is very powerful in its own rights. The episodes that followed were interesting, but I don't remember laughing at any point. I think I was more shocked and impressed than amused. Let me know what you think, if you think it's worth sticking with. Yeah, I might go back to it, but for now, I'm pleased I've given it a go. Still don't know how I feel. But definitely, if you're curious, I'd say check it out. It's on Netflix. What have you got to lose?